Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Jazz at LACMA Meet the Musicians Live. Come on in. We are getting started. Glad to have you aboard. Welcome to virtual LACMA. So glad. Get settled in. Get your favorite beverage, cocktail, snack, dinner, lunch, whatever you got going on. Come on in. Let me know where you're coming from. Shoot me a chat. Let me know where you're joining us from. If it's LA, if it's points beyond, we'd love to see. We've gotten people from all around the world. So it's always exciting to see where we have people coming from, whether it's Pasadena or Tokyo or Canada or La Habra or East LA or Saudi Arabia. We've had people from all over. So yeah, come on in, shoot me a little chat, let me know where you're coming from. And this is great. Long Beach is in the house. Welcome, Long Beach. Good to have you here. Welcome to our Jazz at LACMA Meet the Musicians Live. Pasadena, glad you could join us. This is good. We're getting people from all around, all the way from our nation's capital, DC. Thank you for joining us all the way across the country. It's going to be a good night. So, yeah, come on in, get settled. Yeah, shoot me a chat. Let me know where you're coming from, especially if you're somewhere exotic. LA, that's pretty exotic. Doesn't get much better than that, right? Now that our air is clean. So, yeah, come on in, get settled in. We're going to start in a few minutes. But as you're getting your cocktails ready, let me know where you're coming from. We got a good night planned. Love to see where everybody's coming in. So we got people from all the way up and down the West Coast here as well. Thank you. Thank you for joining us for our pre-Halloween edition. Hopefully all of you are in costumes for tonight's concert, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure what one does in a pandemic with Halloween. It might be, I don't know. But glad you could join us. So come on in, let me know where you're coming from. It's always fun to see where we have these different audience members from. A lot of fun. And yeah, we'll start in about 1 minute with our program. So yeah, come on in. From Southern California all the way to Washington, D.C., we've got it covered. A good night indeed. So welcome to the Halloween edition of Jazz at LACMA Meet the Musicians Live. So yeah, come on in, everybody. So yeah, I don't know if we have anybody from out of the country tonight. In the past, we've had people from Canada and Japan, and I think South Africa is our current winner from the farthest traveled for these concerts. So it's been a lot of fun. North Carolina, hey, I know some great flute players in North Carolina. So this will be good. So I think we're going to get started. So good evening and welcome to Jazz at LACMA Meet the Musicians Live. As all of you get settled in here, just let us know where you're from and we will enjoy our concert with all kinds of people from all across the country. My name is Mitch Glickman, Director of Music Programs here at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. We're thrilled to have you here for featuring some of LA's finest musicians at Jazz at LACMA. Now, Jazz at LACMA is made possible in part through the support of the Office of Los Angeles County Supervisor Sheila Kuehl and the City of Los Angeles Department of Cultural Affairs, along with promotional support from KJazz 88.1 FM. And these virtual events are going to run through the end of November. So if you want to check out the schedule, if you want to learn more about what we're doing here at the museum, just go to lacma.org/music. Once again, lacma.org/music. It'll give you all the details. It'll tell you how to do what we do with the concerts at RSVPs. Just check it all out. Now tonight, we present flutist, composer, bandleader, and educator, Nicole Mitchell. She is perhaps best known for her work as a flutist, having developed a unique improvisational language. And she's been recently rewarded with the top flutist of the year by Downbeat Magazine Critics Poll, as well as the Jazz Journalists Association. Now, our virtual presentation tonight was inspired by you. See, our great jazz fans kept the spirit of Jazz at LACMA going even when the quarantine hit. So I love it. We kept going on Friday nights. People would get together with Zoom. I'd get these wonderful invitations. We would get to check in, see how everybody's doing, and get to see what everybody's drinking as well. but we talk about jazz and just kind of be connected, which is the main thing we need to do right now. So, if you have any technical difficulties, just shoot us a chat. We're getting that monitored. At the end of the program tonight, we're going to do some Q&A with Nicole. So if you got a question anytime during the night, you can send a question in. Just shoot us something via chat. So for all you Zoom fans, remember, there's two settings. You have presentation setting and gallery setting. So right now, please choose the gallery view so you can see that you're in some really good company tonight. Folks from all around the country joining us for some great jazz. So we're so glad you could be joining us for Meet the Musicians Live. Normally, we're going to keep your microphones muted throughout the program, but before we dive in, I'd like to invite you to unmute for a moment, clap your hands, blow your flute, bang a drum, snap your fingers. Let's give it up for Nicole Mitchell and welcome her to our virtual. Yeah.
That's nice.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Well, as part of this year's season of Jazz at LACMA, we would have been presenting flutist Nicole Mitchell. Nicole is the founder of the Black Earth Ensemble, Sonic Projections, as well as Ice Crystal. She composes for contemporary ensembles and incorporates improvisation and a wide aesthetic of expression. Mitchell was recently awarded Champion of New Music by the American Composers Forum. And later in the show, we're going to meet up with a longtime collaborator and band member of Nicole's, Jovia Anderson. So
Jovia
Nicole,
Armstrong.
oh, sorry. Thank you. Jovia Armstrong, thank you. So Nicole, thank you. Thank you for traveling all this way to be with us tonight.
Thank you, Mitch. You're always
It's
the
pretty
greatest.
wild. Yeah, it's pretty wild. But
Yeah,
listen, we got to keep the jazz moving forward. So however we do it, we will do it.
that's right.
So Nicole, so much of your music celebrates contemporary Black culture. Can you tell us a little bit about your group, Black Earth Ensemble, and how it all got started?
Definitely. Well, actually, I had been playing in some of my friends' bands. I was playing with the David Boykin Expanse, and I was playing in Samana with the first all women group of the ACM.
Okay.
And I was playing with who else was I playing with? I was playing a little bit with Hamid Drake and Zara Glenda Baker. And I was coming up with all this music that I was writing. And I was asking, especially in David's group, like, can I start bringing some of these tunes in? I'd really like to hear them and it would be really
Yeah.
great. And he was like, no, you need to start your own band. And Hamid was also like, I wonder what music a band playing Nicole Mitchell's music would sound like. And I'm like, okay, I didn't really want to do it, but I did have to do it in order to hear my music.
Yeah.
And that's really how I got started. So the group started in 1998. I chose the name Black Earth because Black Earth is really what we depend on. Mother Earth is our whole, like, we're so dependent on her. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
all the food we eat comes from her. Obviously, like, we wouldn't have anywhere to be if we weren't on her. But the black earth itself is the richest, most nutrient nourishment for creating life, and also it also represents the mother of humanity, Mama Africa. So that is the reason for the name, and it also intrinsically has this celebration of the divine feminine, the mother spirit,
Yeah.
within that as well. So the music for Black Earth, I mean, as it's led by a woman. And so I try to have gender balance in the group, but it's definitely a celebration of contemporary African American music. And, I'm a member of the ACM, so I've been very much influenced and inspired by that organization and the great, amazing composers that come out of it. And so this is my offering. It's my platform for vision and composition and hopefully some transformation and definitely adventure.
Yeah. And that you do very well. But part of its uniqueness is also this bringing in of all these different cultures and instruments. So the
Right.
kora is a great example.
Right. Collaboration is really key to my musical life. Like, I feel that when you come together with different people from different experiences, it's a really great opportunity to expand your own life experience and your consciousness and make new friends, right?
It's
I mean,
that
we're supposed to
simple.
have fun doing this, right? I mean, that's the whole point. So that's really, I mean, I think what you're talking about is a project called Bamako Chicago Sound System, which was a real gift, a real blessing for me to have the opportunity to collaborate with these musicians from Bamako. Balake Sissoko is this amazing master kora player from Mali, and he has a few friends. Fasiri Diabete plays a balafone. And in this recording, you also have Babani Kone, who's a vocalist. And this particular piece that you're talking about, I had a poem that I wrote a long time ago called My Ancestors. And I was really asking the question as an African American, who are my ancestors? I've been cut off from my history. What language did my family actually speak before English, like before I
Mm.
was westernized or before my lineage was westernized, and just kind of a calling out and asking about that. And it was very meaningful to connect that with them as griots, because that is the tradition in Mali. These musicians, that is their job, to forward the legacy of the region they live in through stories and song. So they have all of that memory, which they carry for their community. And I'm talking about the loss of memory. So, like, we put that together in this piece called My Ancestors, and it was premiered in France. And so, Black Earth Ensemble musicians, you have Joshua Abrams on bass, Jovia Armstrong on percussion, and you have Monkwe Ndosi, who's an African American woman that her mother is actually from her mother is African American, her father's from Tanzania, and she grew
Okay.
up in Minneapolis. And who am I leaving out? Let's see,
Well,
myself, and yeah, I think that's it. And on the other side, I listed the other musicians. So Black Earth
beautiful.
Ensemble plus Balake Sissoko and friends.
So let's check it out. So, the reality is we can't do the live concerts now at the museum, but we can share some beautiful concert footage. And this is some of it. So all the way from Paris, this is a very special performance of the Black Earth Ensemble featuring Nicole Mitchell's original work, My Ancestors.
My ancestors, I call you. Will you speak to me? I do not know the language to call you. Speak to me. Speak to me. I know. My mouth cannot shape the sound. The only language left to me is Western language. And I speak it perfectly. The language took so much from you, so much. Your blood raised me. Language because as I end the fine day. broken glass, concrete, looking for you. My hair stands on end, half straight, half braided. That which I hate, is woven into my fabric. I have been westernized. I
All right. So I get to clap for everybody across the country for you. That was beautiful. So again, all the way from Paris, we got to share in the Black Earth Ensemble. That was an original composition by my guest, Nicole Mitchell, My Ancestors. So how long ago was this concert?
It was in 2014, and actually we got to do the project again in Chicago. That was a performance in Paris at the Bromley Museum. And then I was able to bring the musicians to Chicago.
Beautiful.
Trying to remember. Oh, that was 2018, I think. In 2018, we played the Hyde Park Jazz Festival. So we actually have an album coming out for that project next year, 2021. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, speaking of Chicago, you kind of alluded to this a little bit. AACM.
Yes.
The Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians.
Yes.
Very important Chicago institution, actually a worldwide institution that happens to be based in Chicago. But you were actually president for quite a while.
Yes. I want to say hi to Jovia and shout out to her because she was in that concert and she's here with us as well. And I forgot to mention Felton Offord was playing guitar on that piece.
Okay.
So you had mentioned the ACM.
So share a little bit about its mission.
Well, the beautiful thing about the ACM is you can have a very simple answer for that, which is to create original music. And the idea is to encourage all the members to really find their own voice as a composer and as an improviser, and to develop that to the fullest extent, whatever your aesthetic is. So the ACM is not about a certain kind of sound or a certain kind of style. It's really about each person finding their own way and having a community to support that exploration and that journey. And so that's what I think is one of the most beautiful things about it. And it's a multi-generational community that pushes the boundaries of exploration in music. So there is a lot of experimentalism. That's very much supported. And there's also a lot of just looking throughout the history and the legacy and putting a new spin on that as well.
And it's been around. This is a long time institution. When did it get started?
1965.
Yeah.
So actually, this is the 55th anniversary of the ACM this year in 2020. Yay. We still here.
No easy feat in and of itself. So that's a great milestone.
Yeah.
We had so many great musicians have come out of that. It's just this wonderful, supportive, nurturing institution that's a lot of good work has come out of it. So you did mention this wonderful musician, Jovia Armstrong.
Yes.
And for quite some time, you guys go back a little bit back to Chicago.
That's right.
Yeah.
Me and Jovia met in Chicago back in 2000.
Yeah.
Or not? Was it 99?
It was 2000.
Yeah, so it's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a little while.
So Jovia, thank you for joining us tonight and being part of this. So she was, I don't know how much you got to see, but she was the very busy percussionist in that video. And she's got actually a very unique setup. So, Jovia, I would love for you to share a little bit about kind of how you came to this, because it's really the whole world of percussion in this pretty tight group.
Yeah. So yeah, I started off as an orchestral percussionist. In college, I went into Afro-Cuban percussion, and from there, I was working. I was playing with Nicole already, and all these other groups, and I get bored sometimes. I'm always looking for not, I shouldn't say a challenge, but just I want to do more. Like, a lot of percussion, we have all these toys, and there's so many things you can do with them. And so I'm always thinking about discovering a new way to use an instrument that we've seen for decades already. And so maybe around 2005, I started playing the cajon, which is a box. I'm actually sitting on it right now. You'll see it a little later. But um, I started playing the box with my group that's in Detroit, and I was supporting string players. It was two violinists and a violist and a guitarist and a bassist. And so I was playing this, and it just felt good, and I got more and more interested in it. I moved back to Chicago, connected with Nicole again, and she asked me to play this set with her. And I'm telling you, before like my own group, all I was really doing with this setup was playing with like duos and trios, just really small
Yeah.
ensembles. And I was really wondering, can I support a full group? And I think that show you guys just saw, that tour proved to me that I could do it. And so I just kind of stuck with it. Yeah. So I'll tell you something really interesting though. I was afraid. It was like a dream gig for me because, we had these musicians from Bamako, Mali. And I was just in the back of my mind, just wondering, are they going to like this? This is very different. Even in the US, this is a very different thing. It's a
Yeah.
different sound. And so I remember the first rehearsal, they kept looking at me.
And then you're a woman playing the drums.
Was that, and so they kept looking back to see what was I doing because there's not a full drum set here, but it sounds like a kick and snare and cymbals. And what I realized was that this box resembles an instrument that they use there. They've been using it for centuries, called the calabash, which is just bass and a snare sound.
Hmm.
And what happened is I actually fit right in.
The mother of the drum set.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Because the drum set was an African American invention through jazz music. We don't know the inventor because it was more of a folk invention through people experimenting, playing on the street, trying to make a living. And it's like the more you could do on your own, the more money you're gonna get. So let's make this contraption.
Yes, got the trap set.
So, Jovia, could you kind of talk us through the different elements of your drum set?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that video probably was the most extensive setup I've ever had. um, and so what should I show?
Yeah, why don't you jump over to your setup there,
Yeah,
and
let's
then you
do
can
that.
kind of explain the cajon a little bit and the different symbols.
Okay, let me do that.
Yeah. So again, it's a very unique blending of so many different influences of percussion from around the world. And the way she does it is very unique in terms of bringing it and making it her own voice. So it's pretty fascinating.
So I'll
So,
just grab this mic so I can continue talking to you.
yeah.
Okay, so I want to show you first. I'll show you the actual cajon, which is this box.
Exhibit A.
Exhibit A. Yeah, I guess you guys can see it. And so it's literally a hollow box. I take I don't know if you can see, but there's screws around the edges. And I take the screws out of the corners to give me a slap sound. and then the center is more bass. And I just sit on it and I play it. And over in this area, I don't know if you all can see this. I'll move this down a little bit. I have my cymbals. So here's the thing with the drum set. The drum set, at its in its simplest form, is really just kick and snare. So that's why I have my kick, snare, and then there's a hi-hat. So to me, a good drummer can use those three elements and rock a whole show. And I have other percussion here. And as you saw with Nicole, I had even more stuff. But this is this is the basics. This is the foundation of that setup. With Nicole, I had a Ebo drum, which is a clay pot. I had two congas, one on each side of me. I actually I had so much stuff that I had to tell them to take the bongos back because I didn't have a space for the bongos. So
Wow.
I was filled with stuff, but again, I'm first and foremost most a percussionist, and I use all of these instruments, and so every song doesn't need cymbals. So sometimes I would play congas or play something else. So the setup can get pretty massive, and like you said, it's very unique. There's instruments from all over the world in this setup, and so I end up being put kind of like finding myself in situations where I can do Latin music, I can play jazz, I can play the blues, I can play R&B. I've done rock with this setup,
Wow.
and I try not to have the mentality of being the drummer or taking the drummer spot. I want to offer something unique to artists is what I want to do. I don't want to replace the drummer. If you want a drummer on a drum set, you can get that person, but this is just to offer something different. And for the most part, most artists I play with tell me that they like this setup because it's not overpowering. You know, it's not like this full drum set. They can still sing without having to scream over a drum set.
So, Jovia, would you mind demonstrating a little bit what your setup sounds like?
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's do that.
cool is that? So again, she has all these colors of the world. She's got all the Latin colors. She's got the African colors, the American colors, all rolled into one. Very fascinating setup. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Whew,
We have she has that set up in Mandorla Awakening and also some other upcoming projects that we have together. So I love it.
so stay tuned for more, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So Nicole, we kind of put Jovia on the spot to play something. I know you got to have a flute nearby. Would you be so kind? And
Do you think would it work if we play together? Or has
probably not. The sync is not going to be there, but
Okay. All right.
you have to keep her rhythm and spirit there. All right.
I made the cat run out the room.
Oh, that's great. Oh, too rich. So, Nicole, part of your arsenal, part of your vocabulary is what we call extended techniques.
Uh-huh.
So what makes you sound so much richer than a more traditional flutist are these little extra things you do. Would you mind sharing, specifically, let's talk about
Sure.
singing and playing, which is
Yeah.
not easy to do?
I had been frustrated with people always talking about the flute not being a very expressive instrument in jazz. And I heard that a lot. And I was actually very discouraged when I was a student. I was told in my lessons, you'll never get anywhere playing jazz flute. You need to play saxophone. So I dropped out from that school and moved to Chicago. But I think it was an organic thing that happened when I started adding my flute. And it was the weirdest experience the first time I did it. The audience actually fell out in laughter. It was so weird because I guess it was a discovery for me. So it was kind of a shock as it was happening. And so whatever happened to my face made everybody else laugh, But it's interesting because I don't really get people laughing now. But what I've discovered is my range of my voice is very similar to the flute. So there's a lot of different intervals that I can play, and it kind of makes my own sound. And then I could just do an octave. And then I can sing outside of the instruments. And so then it also, while I get to do my own thing, I'm also kind of leaving some evidence that a woman was around on the record because, who else
Yeah.
could be doing that? So I was very inspired also by James Newton, who sang into his flute, but of course he has a much lower voice. And also Robert Dick, who did a lot of extended techniques like the circular breathing. And so I do that, but I also sometimes I like playing the instrument quote unquote wrong, like by using fingerings that aren't really kosher, like and finding sounds that way. And because I have open holes, I can bend notes. You can't bend all the notes, like kind of the saxophone is really good at that, but I can bend also using my head. So there's just lots of different things. There's always new things to discover, definitely.
Yeah, so again, it's great. Similar to Jovia, you're always pushing the boundaries.
Right.
Well, what else can the flute do? Well, traditionally it does this, but are there other things?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit more, just a little bit of the multiphonics that you can get out of the flute?
Sure. I mean, there are some fingerings that will give you multiphonics. And then I just really like the idea of doing it not overly being, I have this aesthetic of not being overly precise. So I kind of like things to be a little edgy. That's another aspect of my sound where a lot of people want to sound quote unquote pretty, on the flute, where I'm more kind of just like pushing, like you said, pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
So it's kind of more of a forceful sound, but I like it. I mean, it more expresses who I am, I guess, even though I don't consider myself a forceful person, but some people might think I'm a little pushy.
Well, let's listen. It's great to just keep those colors coming in. So
Yeah.
I do want to get some Q&A going. There's been a lot of great questions.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to try to get to as many as we can. Some of them are really intense. So,
Intense. Okay.
yeah, I mean, technical and really interesting. So I think I'm going to jump back to Jovia for a second because we had a question about the Cajon.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about where it comes from? And somebody was asking specifically, has it translated into Spanish music and flamenco music?
Yeah, great question. So the cajon is very popular in Peru, and um, they have used it traditionally for a very long time. And uh, the story that I got from my mentors was that well, you guys know how like you look at video in video of musicians in Cuba and in Africa and other places where you have like these communities of people playing in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually what happens is they would want run out of instruments to play, and so some people would just play on doors. They'll just stand up and play on a door, and then the box itself came from the shipping yards, so people would just grab packing boxes, and play them. Paco de Lucia back in the 70s was on tour, and he was on tour in Peru, and he saw the box, fell in love with it. He's the one who took it back to Spain and introduced it to flamenco music. And it is a huge part of flamenco now. Like you don't really hear any flamenco groups without the cajon now. So yeah, that's how it got to
Yeah, but you're saying it's actually a fairly recent discovery in Spain, though, in the
Yep.
70s.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's
recent.
interesting. Yeah, very cool. Thank you. So, Nicole, technical question number one.
Uh-oh.
Can you explain circular breathing?
Say it again.
Can you explain circular breathing?
I can show it.
Okay.
Might be easier than...
Again, really, really hard to do. You could do this forever. she's blowing out, she's actually taking air in. Again, it takes a lot of practice, a lot of coordination. You can hold a note for minutes. So theory will pass out after a while.
No, because I'm breathing, so I could go forever, but
Have you
it
ever
actually, it affects the way you play because you don't have to stop to breathe. Yeah. So circular, it's coming in through your nose and there's air coming out of your mouth. So that's the circle.
Yeah, so kind of trap it and go, and yeah,
Yeah.
really, really hard to do. And do you have like a record? What's your personal record of holding a note?
You mean how long?
Yeah, have you ever?
No. I mean, I could go for 30 minutes, but I
Wow.
wouldn't want to. I mean, I don't know how musical that would be.
And you do need some that good.
That would be more like Guinness World. I guess I could try to do the Guinness Book of World Records or something.
So another question that's come in is about your flute. Do you have a favorite flute?
Oh, I play a Powell, and I have a nice story about that, actually. I used to play Muramatsu, and I had just bought a new Muramatsu, and I had just finished paying it off, and we did this performance in Italy, Black Earth Ensemble, and it got stolen in Milan in the car, which someone was supposed to be watching the car, but they got hungry and came in with us for dinner, and somebody stole a lot of our things, including not just my instrument. So after that, I had to start over. I had already spent all this money buying this new flute, and it was pretty tough for me because I still had to do all these performances, and I didn't have a flute. I didn't have a flute that was a decent flute. And Powell gave me a really nice endorsement, and a friend of mine actually helped me pay for the rest of it. And so it was like a really beautiful thing. Like, and the community was really supportive, and like, you know, really like, I just got a lot of caring responses from people when they found out it happened, and nothing ever happened. I never was able to get the flute back, but that's when I started playing Powell, and it has a really nice, dark, rich sound, which actually is a lot darker than the sound of the Muramatsu. And it kind of changed what my sound is, and I really like it. You know, it's kind of like a shift for me. And yeah.
That's great.
So
Is there
thank
any-
you, Powell.
Yeah. Yeah. Any special head joint that you use?
No, I just used a regular head joint. I mean, people do get really geeked out on head joints and stuff with flutes. And for me, it's just like, it's really what you hear in your mind that comes out. And whatever you have, you can make that sound happen because it's what you hear. There's of course a little variation that can be with the materials of, you know, what the instrument is made out of. But a lot of it has to do with your own sense of sound and what you hear. So for example, I don't tune my instrument. You know, a lot of people they'll pull out, they'll push it, pull out, push it. It's like the instrument is in tune in a specific place, and then you use your ear to tune the rest.
Nice, good explanation. Yeah. So there's a question that kind of came in earlier. This is when you were talking about how you ended up starting your own group.
Yeah.
Ultimately, most people start their own bands to have their own music played. That's pretty basic across the board. So I'm going to kind of paraphrase this question a little bit. It's almost like a risk-reward scenario because it takes a lot of work to start your own band. So the question was basically like, how was the reward? Was it cathartic to finally hear your own music?
Actually, it's kind of funny. My first performance of Black Earth Ensemble was at the Velvet Lounge in Chicago, a place owned by Fred Anderson, the saxophonist who really mentored a lot of younger musicians at the time. And I remember throwing up in the bathroom, like on the intermission. because it was really painful and horrifying. Like the idea of having to lead and tell these other people what to do and be up there and my music is playing and I feel naked because it's like out in public and not inside of me. I just threw up. Like it
Wow.
was really, it was tough. It was really, it took time to get used to the whole concept of being a band leader. And what I really learned, what the scariest thing was, is that the music is alive and it has its own life. And really, as a band leader, you're a facilitator of the music. You're not like trying to control the music. So the best thing is to make sure you don't get in the way of the music. And that means when you have improvisers, sometimes things might go a little bit differently than you planned, and you have to know when that's good and then guide it if it's not. You know what I mean? And
Totally.
so there's just so much unexpected things that happen on the stage. And then coming up, like when you have a band and you're playing for the door and you don't have any money and you're just starting out. I mean, sometimes the drummer wouldn't show up. Sometimes, not ever Jovia, she always showed up. But sometimes the bass, like twice the bass player's bridge broke or something, like in two different occasions, and then there's
Wow.
just no bass. One time the cellist bow broke, like right at the beginning of a big festival. And so these things happen, and then the music still has to happen. So you have
Yeah.
to be prepared to just do a solo show if necessary, you know.
That's what good jazz training will tell you, right?
Yes.
Improvisation is life.
Yes.
You know, gotta be ready. So, Jovia, I want to jump back to you for a second because you keep talking about pushing things forward and experimenting and looking for new sounds. And there's something you had mentioned earlier that I find very fascinating is this experiment that you're doing now with your cajon and electronics. Could you share a little bit about just the ideas?
Sure, sure. So yeah, as I was playing the cajon within the setup, I realized that the cajon has the kick and snare sound, and I could kind of do. I don't know if you guys can hear this. Like I
Yeah.
could change the pitch a little bit, but I would need both hands to do that, right? And so I was just thinking, what? How else can I trigger different sounds um, outside of kick and snare? Because what if the mood of the music changes, and I want, if the music climaxes, I want more of a snare drum sound. And so I started building this ribbon sensor. So I built two ribbon sensors, and so basically, when you slide your finger down the sensor, it changes pitch.
Wow.
And so I haven't attached it to the cajon yet because I'm scared. I don't want to ruin the drum. I kind of want to get just a cajon that's not a great one, just to figure out how to attach these electronics to it. Um, but it worked. I tried it in class. I'm a PhD student at UCI where Nicole used to teach, and so I tried it out in class. It worked. I just haven't attached it yet, but I'm starting to experiment with things like that, with light sensors, with motion sensors, being able to trigger filters and EQs, reverbs, delays with uh, sensors. I have one here in this box.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's just that, I don't know if you guys can see this. And actually, one of the professors, she actually designed this one.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and basically, you can attach it wherever, like on your hand or your foot, or some people have used it on their head. And the idea is that I can program in software, um, in this software called Max and maybe even Logic. But if I go up and down, that will maybe change the volume. If I go side to side, that'll change the pitch of something. It just depends on what I program. So yeah, those are the type of things that I'm starting to experiment with because
That's
during
great.
shows, it's there's always do you go out with a trio, which is easier? Do you go out with the octet? But sometimes you just don't have enough people to do the show, and I was just wondering what more can I do and what can I what other sounds can I,
Yeah.
play for the audience?
Very cool. Well, we can't wait to see what you come up with. So good luck with all of that.
Thank you.
And Nicole, I know you had mentioned a new album's coming out pretty soon. Are there any other projects? I know we're in this very strange place right now, but there are any lights at the end of the tunnel that you could share? Musical projects for you?
I'm actually working on a book
Perfect.
about the Mandorla Awakening project that should come out next year in 2021. And me and Jovia have another project. Jovia, what is it called? Spiderweb. And we premiered that in LA at Clock Shop.
Great.
And that I wanna put that out this in 2021 as well. And so between that and Bamako, Chicago, which it's like a big deal for us to be able to put that out. And other than that, I'm working on a solo project, and I have a project with flute and electronics called Free Bodies that I'm working on finishing up, and a few other collaborations with some other electronic musicians.
We have a lot to look forward to then.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's great. Well, I want to thank you, and I want everybody actually to join me in thanking you and Jovia. So if you could unmute yourselves for a moment, and so we can give a round of applause to Nicole and Jovia.
Yay! Thank you.
Yes.
From all across the country,
Wow.
we thank you.
Thank you, Mitch.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for having us at LACMA. We had so much fun playing at LACMA. I really hope we get to do that again.
We are looking forward to those days when we can all get back together again and listen to some great music
Yeah.
together. So, in the meantime, listen, good
Thank
luck with
you.
all of your projects and stay well.
Okay.
So
Bye.
we're gonna mute everybody back. Couple of excuse me, couple of quick announcements coming up. So while we wait for Jazz at LACMA to resume, I do want to highlight some wonderful online offerings. So there's a lot of leading jazz clubs around the country that are starting to present a lot of great live stream. So check them out. Blue Note in New York, Big Potato in Los Angeles. They're out there. Go to your favorite jazz clubs, see what they're doing, support your local jazz clubs. It's so important right now. There's also wonderful on-demand music, including the LA Phil. They're doing a presentation of Kamasi Washington, and SF Jazz. They're doing some wonderful concerts featuring some of their past as well. So again, go to the websites, get some more information, and let's help keep jazz moving forward. I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. Can't wait to see you back at the museum when the time is right. We have 2 more Meet the Musicians Live coming up. We're going to have Melissa Morgan, the great vocalist, on November 13th, and on November 27th, piano player Max Hamer. So again, go to lacma.org/music for more information and check it all out. We're going to take a quick family photo so we can capture all the magic tonight. If your hair's a little messy, you can turn your camera off. Special thanks to the entire LACMA team, Chela Montoya, Stephanie Catt, Emily Craig, Saren Semsem, and the entire LACMA AV crew for all their help tonight. Jazz at LACMA is made possible in part through the support of the Office of Los Angeles County Supervisor Sheila Kuehl and the City of Los Angeles Department of Cultural Affairs, along with our friends on the radio, KJazz 88.1. Now don't forget, Jazz at LACMA broadcasts are continuing on KJazz Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Don't miss them. And the newest thing is KJazz has these broadcasts on demand. So just go to the KJazz website, jazzandblues.org, and go under archive programs, and you can check them all out. So we hope you got to enjoy some of the best of LA's musicians right here on Meet the Musicians Live. We'll see you soon, Friday, November 13th, with vocalist Melissa Morgan, right here at LACMA, the LA County Museum of Art. Until then, take care, everybody.
Thank you, Mitch. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Excellent.
Mitch.
Good night, everyone.
Welcome.